good afternoon, everybody. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to my weekly radio show called Encouragement for Your Life. Many of you know I'm a national speaker, trainer, and coach, and I like to help people find their voice and learn to use it. If you've got an upcoming conference and you're looking for a speaker, or if you need a public speaking coach, I hope you'll reach out at debsofield.com. Many of you know I'm a conference speaker on the topics of public speaking, presentation skills, how to deal with the media, and crisis communication. If your organization is having a conference in the new year and you need a keynote speaker, I would love for you to pass my name on to the organization. You can find me at debsofield.com. Many of you know I've got a number of books on the market. Just go to Amazon, type in my name, Deb Sofield, all my books will appear. I've got Speak Without Fear, Perfecting Your Platform, and Encouragement for Your Life. I've got a great theme today, and it's this. Your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. That's an old quote from Zig Ziglar, somebody I grew up listening to. Zig, very famous in his day, always made me think I wanted to be a motivational speaker until I realized I was probably better suited to be a motivational teacher. So I've got a great show today. I hope you'll stay tuned, and let's get started with today's show. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Recently, I was flying to a speaking job, and as I left for the airport that morning, it was raining. I looked out the window while we were waiting to take off, and I could tell it was going to be a cold, wet, rainy ride. In fact, that was the outlook for the entire week where I was headed to speak. Sitting on the plane, determining what I was not going to be doing on this trip, since I don't like to be out in the cold, wet weather, within a few minutes after we took off and went above the clouds, as it always seems to happen, the skies cleared and the most beautiful shade of blue was above me, and the white cotton balls of clouds were below. And I was reminded of the old Zig Ziglar saying, your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Now, you may have heard that saying in the past, but it struck me this time because the evening before I flew out, I was a speaker on a panel for women in business. And one of the issues that seemed to permeate the conversation was, how does one gain and keep power in the business world and in life? For me, it was a clear reminder that your attitude or your boldness, demeanor, brashness, or approach to a situation, not your aptitude, your skills, ability, talents, and gifts, will determine your altitude, height, or elevation. Or simply put, just how high you will climb in the business world and in your personal life is really dependent on you. I see a lot of people who act like this universal truth really doesn't matter. And from what I can tell, they'll get by for a time, but it won't last. Because when your focus is always on the ground, the rainy days, the dark and cold days, your opportunities will never show themselves because you're not looking in the right direction. And it's hard to get power, keep power, maintain power, if your attitude is always looking at the negative things in life, the rainy days, instead of the sun that shines just above the rain. When I talk about attitude, I just want to touch on the issue of attitude as one of the few things you can change about yourself by yourself. You may not be able to control every situation and its outcome, but you can control your attitude and how you deal with it. Pastor Chuck Swindoll has said this about attitude. He says, the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on my life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It's more important than the past, than money, than circumstances, than failure, than success, than what other people think, say, or do. It's more important than appearances, giftedness, or skill. It'll make or break a company, a church, a home, or an individual. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for the day. Friends, we can't change our past. We can't change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We can't change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is to play on the one string that we have, and that's our attitude. I am so convinced that life is 10% what happens to me, 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. I really couldn't have said that better myself, and he's correct. I also like the quote that it's been said that a bad attitude can literally block love, blessings, and destiny from finding you. Don't be the reason you don't succeed. One of my favorite quotes is from Winston Churchill, who said, "Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference." So friends, whether you're in the rainy season of life or you can't seem to catch a glimpse of the sunlight, or your heart's grown cold and you've grown bitter towards those who have done you wrong, please consider giving yourself a break and easing down your temperature to see if you can be strong enough to change your attitude for your future. And I strongly believe that your only choice for a successful life is to make this change. Because although you might be the smartest person in the room, you might be the only one with skills and abilities that can make big things happen, no one, hear me, no one is going to seek you out and learn from you if your attitude is so off-putting that they'd rather struggle than deal with you. I know I talk a lot about your amazing gifts and talents because everyone I meet, believe it or not, has some gift that is recognizable to be of great use to others if we knew you had it, wanted to learn from you, and probably the most important, respected you enough to ask. The conference I spoke to the other evening was dealing with power, and power is found in a lot of ways, but I find that the best use of your power is when others seek you out to learn from you, and that only happens when you're the kind of person who makes others feel valued, or put another way, powerful. It's funny. They seek you out to be near the power, and if you're good enough at the game, you will give them a vision to see their power to go and do great things. Some people hope that their aptitude or intelligence will create a path for them, and I'm sure in many cases it will. But I also know that when you treat everyone with respect, whether you consider them worthy or not, you're doing a good thing to help them find their path because of your kindness. Friends, remember, your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Because my speaking engagement was across the country, I went a day early to rest before I spoke. And every time I looked out the hotel window, it was still raining. I wanted to go and explore the new city and see what it had to offer. Since I can't afford to get sick in cold, wet, rainy weather, I opted to stay inside and rest and work on my presentation. Because I determined years ago that I wanted to be a great speaker. I wanted my audience to learn something from me when our time was done. In a sense, I focus on my altitude, committing to doing the hard work to be the best in my area of expertise. Yes, it is built part way on attitude because I love what I do, and in many cases, the part aptitude since I'm an expert in my field. But I also find I enjoy the altitude of helping others reach top of their fields to be their best in a lifetime of success. See, that's what actually drives me. And think about the conference the day before. The speakers all agreed that one's attitude is the key for success in today's world. And when the going gets tough, those who choose success will keep going. As dismal as the weather was in Alaska, the opportunity to work with such a great team of people made the trip worthwhile. And as I left in the rain again and got back on my plane and went above the clouds, I was now staring out the window to the most beautiful sunset of orange, red, blue, to purple, to darkness. And then the stars came out, and the moon was full once again. I was greeted with majestic blue skies and fluffy white clouds all the way until darkness descended, with its dazzling colors as the sun went down. Og Mandino was one of my favorite writers, and I love his quote, "I will love the light, for it shows me the way. Yet I will endure the darkness because it shows me the stars." While I was sitting on the plane, it became very clear to me that determining just how high you will go, your altitude, is very important to think about and work towards, not only because it's beautiful up there, but because no matter where you are in life and love and loss or in leaving, once you get above the clouds, there's a whole new world just waiting to break through the darkness and show you the light. Friend, you must hold on and believe that a better day is coming. And that starts with an attitude adjustment to remind yourself that just above the rain and clouds of life is a glorious view of blue sky that seems to go on forever. So after many hours and time zone laters, I got off the plane again in the rain, but this time with a reminder that it's just raining where I can see it. And as the old familiar quote goes, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. I'm Deb Sofield. This is Encouragement for Your Life. Stay tuned. I'll be right back after the break. And let's talk about how to build a better attitude. Hi, I'm Deb Sofield. If someone you know is interviewing for law school, medical school, dental school, veterinary school, college, or a job, call me. Because you need to be prepared for the interview. Together, we'll craft the answers to the questions that will be asked, even the hard ones. I'll teach you how to connect with the interviewer, work on your positive body language, and give you the powerful words and answers the interview requires. You know, for most interviews, there's a standard set of questions that you must know the answer to. And depending on what you're interviewing for, that conversation changes. You need a coach, and I can help. I have years of experience coaching for all types of interviews. Call me. I'd like to be on your team. I'd like to be your coach. Contact me through my website, debsofield.com. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Deb Sofield, and you're listening to Encouragement for Your Life. My theme today is about your attitude. I came across a really good article by Leon Ho found in Lifehack, and the title is How Your Attitude Determines Your Success. So here's the article. Friend, do you remember the last time you faced a major setback when you felt so low that nothing seemed to make you happy? No matter how hard you tried, you just felt like the world was against you. Perhaps it was a bad relationship or the loss of a loved one. Maybe something bad happened at work. Whatever it may be, can you recall your attitude and how it was towards the situation? You know, so often we're caught up in an unhappy situation. Many times we feel like we are limited and sometimes trapped. We want to get out of it as quickly as we can, but, it's just never quite that simple. Unfortunately, some people remain in terrible situations for weeks or months or, dare I say, even years, while others may come out strong and ready to start over or continue from where they left off fairly quickly. So you have to ask, what sets these two groups apart? Well, the answer is simple. It's your attitude. Attitude is everything when it comes to achieving a goal and tackling a setback or a problem. When you're able to have a positive mindset, you'll be able to break free of your limitations that are holding you back. A positive attitude also goes a long way in ensuring you come out victorious from whatever limitations that were holding you back before. It transforms not only your mental state, but also your physical and emotional well-being, because those are the key to a lasting transformation. They say that a positive attitude brings about positive health. Think about it. When you're stuck in a rut, often the first thoughts that run through your head are negative. So your outlook could become pessimistic instead of optimistic. However, if you transform those thoughts from being a pessimist into being more positive, then I think you're on your way to talking yourself out of that rut, which will allow you to move forward. Now listen, positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring all the bad or unpleasant feelings altogether. It just means that you've approached unpleasantness in a more positive and productive way, instead of taking everything as a victim to negative circumstances, or you learn to see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. All right, so one of the things I think we all need to be aware of, and it's something I do a lot, it's called be aware of your self-talk. These are those automatic thoughts that can be positive or negative. Some of your self-talk comes from logic and reason. Well, sometimes your self-talk comes from misconceptions that you created. Others could come from external sources such as the negative people around you or messages from the media. The key is to surround yourself with positive influences that can help turn those negative thoughts into positive and more productive actions. You'll not only feel better about the situation, but in the long run, positive thinking can lower your levels of distress and depression and give you better coping skills during hardships. Researchers study the effects of positive thinking and optimism on health, and they found that positive thinking people Well, in a sense, they believe it provides an increased lifespan, better cardiovascular health, it reduces the risk of death from disease, and provides a greater resistance to the common cold. It's unsure why people who engage in positive thinking experience health benefits, but one theory is that having a positive outlook enables you to cope better with stressful situations, which in turn reduces the harmful health effects of stress on your body. It's also thought that positive and optimistic people tend to live a healthier lifestyle. They get more physical activity, follow a healthier diet, usually don't smoke and drink alcohol in excess. Now here's the truth. Suffering is inevitable, but it's best just to accept it and then move on. Now, one thing that everyone goes through at some point is suffering. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's a harsh reality, yet you and I can't actually avoid it when it hits. We experience suffering as the result of unhappiness, fear, anger, loss, or frustration. In fact, it would be hard to even imagine the feeling of happiness if we never experienced suffering. How would you ever compare it? However, instead of wallowing in sorrow about the suffering you've endured, take the suffering as an opportunity for change. Did you get laid off from your job? Perhaps this is a good time to reassess your career goals. See, rather than feeling negative and stuck, please think and use your time and energy to find opportunities which will put you ahead. Because, friend, with the right attitude, anything can seem possible. Now listen, I know this sounds crazy, but in a weird sense, suffering could be the secret to being successful. Here's what I mean. It's impossible to think of new ideas or understand new experiences without stepping outside of your comfort zone. Anyone who has met great success, without a doubt, has probably suffered many failures, as nobody wins on every try. To propel you towards success, find a way to track your progress and then set and celebrate the small successes and benchmarks that you've crossed. It may be helpful to conduct a review to assess where you are. Acknowledge your small wins. See, the problem is so many times we get caught up in the negative, we stop to remember the positive. Because, friend, every accomplishment, no matter how small, it is an achievement. So, take note of it. See, tracking your progress is also a great way to find and mitigate triggers and hindrances that impede your progress. The point is this: you're making progress, even if it feels like suffering. If you really pay attention, you can see it's leading you to joy. Remember, don't compare yourself to others. Only compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Each step you make towards progress is making a better version of you. I love the next point in the article. It says, gratitude goes a long way in shaping attitude. Now, this may seem difficult to do when you're already feeling down, sad, and lonely. But having gratitude is very useful when you're trying to navigate your way out of a setback. Being grateful for existing accomplishments and the supports in your life will help you see things more clearly, build your own confidence, and most likely give you a better outlook on what your limitations are and then what you've got to do to overcome them. Think about it. With a grateful attitude, you limit the damage of negative influences and you strengthen the impact of the positive ones. I think we all know that being grateful even during tough times steers our attitude towards a more positive outlook, allowing you to get back on your feet much more quickly. They say that some of the studies done on gratitude have shown positive results for people who practice it regularly, such as improvement in relationships and, of course, mental health. And there's even studies that show higher motivation in work settings due to a simple thank you from managers and their subordinates. We're coming into a holiday season. People are stressed beyond belief. So, friend, if you can add a little bit of light to the darkness, I'm going to encourage you to please do so. And one way you do that is to believe in yourself and your truth. This is often easier said than done, but it's also the most empowering truth to overcome your setbacks and limitations in life. I know it. Listen, it's hard to keep a positive attitude during tough times because, in a sense, you lack some confidence. So many times people doubt their abilities because they're, quote, failures, or that's what they're experiencing at the moment. They just don't think they can rise above, which is strange because you've done it in the past, friend. You can do it in the future. Remember, confidence doesn't just come from talent, luck, or easy opportunity. Confidence comes from overcoming difficulties and facing your fears head on. The fact is, confidence is a result of getting out of your comfort zone. And the more you do this, the more confident you'll be, and the more positive your attitude will be. Confidence will help you see your goals more clearly, find your strengths within, reach your goals, overcome your limitations, and move in the direction of your dreams. So welcome the challenges that come. Don't avoid them, because in a sense, they're opportunities in disguise that will feed your personal growth. And we do this because our attitude, once we get it right, sets the tone for our success. Friend, the importance of having a positive attitude is life-changing. It's so much more than a mindset or a state of mind. Your attitude sets the tone for every action, every behavior that you will do. And it will determine how long it takes for you to break free from your current circumstances, no matter what they are. So if you are currently in an unhappy situation, just give it a try. Look at things from a more positive perspective. Listen, not only does having a positive attitude bring more favorable outcomes, they have given study after study that it also gives more positive health in the long run. Embracing hardship as it is and using it as a learning experience to grow, is only going to make you stronger. And whether you're going through good times or bad, practicing gratitude will no doubt help limit the damage of negative influences in your life, and it'll strengthen the impact of the positive ones. As I wind down, please hear this message. You, my friends who are listening today, you are your greatest barrier to success, or you are your greatest champion to succeed. That is why you've got to believe in yourself. Even if no one else does, it doesn't matter from the outside. It matters from the inside. And here's why. You always have the power to be in control of your situation because your attitude is determined by you. So when you harness all that positive thinking to turn those limitations into strengths, nothing can stop you. Why? Because, friend, it is your attitude, not your aptitude, that will determine your altitude. And I want you to soar. I don't want anything to hold you back or be in your way. Because, friend, you have to make a decision starting today. Listen, it's all up to you. We can blame others. We can say, it's how we were brought up. It's how people treat me. Stop. None of that matters. What matters is you making a decision to live your best life ever. I love this quote from Roy Bennett. Attitude is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Optimism is a choice. Kindness is a choice. Giving is a choice. Respect is a choice. So, friend, whatever choice you make makes you. Choose wisely. Man, I love that one. It's by Roy Bennett, The Light in the Heart. And then, of course, Seneca said this: true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that is so wants nothing. The greatest blessing of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not. And then Winston Churchill, attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Have to admit, everybody agrees that it's your attitude, not your aptitude, that will determine your altitude. And friend, with that, I know you can soar. I know that if you put your mind to it, as you're coming into this new year, making probably New Year's resolutions, or sitting down and planning out what is next in your life, please, for all that is good in the world, let's stop and put yourself in a position of authority, leadership, and then power. And you do that when you have the right attitude. Stop thinking outside influences influence you. Yes, they do to a point, but you either push through or you fall back. And it's my hope as your friend and your coach, your counselor, and a voice on the radio that you push forward for success, because I believe it's within you. I know it takes work. It takes work for everybody. But the fact is you can do it. You can do it because you were made for more. Remember, I tell you all the time, there's 8 billion people in the world. There's no one like you. So why aren't you living to your full potential? Why are you not enjoying the true happiness that comes with this time of year? Albeit I understand there's a lot of stress and pressure, but you can change that because you are in control of your thoughts. You're in control of your attitude. And your attitude will be reflected on your friends and family. So my goodness, my friends, let's make it an amazing holiday season. All right, thanks for hanging with me. I'm Deb Sofield. This, believe it or not, is encouragement for your life because I want you to have the best life ever. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to connecting next week. Same time, same place.